record. All right, let me pray. God, we just thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to be together and to be shaped by you and shaped by these teachings that are just so um, scandalous and rich and transformative. And we just don't want to walk away with this sort of conventional, lame, predictable idea of what it means to follow you. Every story that you told, the encounters that you had, the people that you were with, Jesus, it just so shocked. Um, it shocked the world. And I think specifically of the line that you taught as one who had authority, not like the scribes and the Pharisees. Your teaching had this kaboom, this dynamism to it, this energy and fire. And there's something about your stories that you told and the way that you lived and the people that you engaged that was so radically good news. And so help us as we think about who you are and what you shared with us and how that impacts the way that we live in the world, that we would be um, not predictable, that we would not be boring, that we would not be conventional, because you never were, that we would not necessarily be safe, but that we would be wild in our love and our compassion and the way that we engage the world and the people around us. So help us to be shaped by you this morning. We love you. We'll talk to you later. Amen. Okay, I'm going to start with reading. So if you have a Bible with you, I'm going to read from the Message, which is a super easy to understand translation. And I'll kick us off here. Luke 15, verse 11. Then he said, this is Jesus speaking. Then Jesus said, there was once a man who had two sons. The younger said to his father, Father, I want right now what's coming to me. So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through that country, and he began to hurt. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him to the fields to slop the pigs. He was so hungry, he would have eaten the corn cobs and the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, all those farmhands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand. He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him, his heart pounding. He ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech. Dad, I've sinned against I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again. But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to his servants, quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a grain-fed heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive, given up for lost and now found. And they began to have a wonderful time. Okay, so all is right. There's a wild party and everything's good in the world. All this time, his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the house boys, he asked what was going on. He told him, your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef. Oh, thank God. I can't wait for barbecue season. It's coming, baby. Bring on the grills. It's coming soon. Because he has him home safe and sound. The older brother stalked off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, look, how many years I've stayed here serving you, never giving you one moment of grief. But have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours who has thrown away your money on whores shows up and you go all out with a feast. His father said, son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and he's found. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because what Jesus did with this story is he told a story. I mean, he didn't plop open an old scroll and read it and break it down. He just told a fictional, like modern day story to sort of intersect with the lives of these Pharisees and religious people. Can I give you the backdrop? Okay. Backdrop is Jesus is hanging out with sinners, tax collectors, disreputable types, Samaritans, all the types of people that the religious people go, you don't want to hang out with those people. Bad company corrupts good character. And so you got to stay away from the baddies. You can't be with these people. They're no good. They're bad influences. They're going to ruin your life. You are the company that you keep. And so you hang out with those people, they're going to corrupt you. They're going to mess you up. And so here Jesus is hanging out with the bad people, the sinners, the broken people, the messed up people, people with the past, people with the present that isn't right. And here Jesus is sitting around a circle treating them not like some sort of charity case, but like friends, reclining around the table, hanging out with them, treating them like equals, telling stories, hanging out into the evening with these people. And the religious people are ticked off. Your leader, your religious leader, your rabbi, your godly man, Jesus, you are hanging out with these bad people. What are you doing with them? It was in the context of that Jesus told this story. And he tells a story to paint a picture. And he's painting a picture of the bad people, the prodigal. He's painting a picture of the Pharisee, which is the older brother. He's painting a picture of himself or the father. Now, with all of that, what I'd like to do is give you sort of, if you're up for it, well, I don't care if you're up for it. I prepared it this way. So we're going to give you a modern twist on this story. And the modern twist is going to be the father and his two daughters. And it's going to be set now in modern times. Okay, so picture it happening. I don't know, maybe we can pretend like COVID's not happening. So this happened 2 years ago. We'll tell the story as if it's 2 years ago or 2 years from now. And so we have the father and his two daughters. And you've got daughter number one, who is a super, well, I'll tell it this way. I'm gonna make myself the father in the story right now, and I'm gonna give you a backdrop of my journey with my daughters, and then I'm gonna introduce you to my two daughters who are gonna join in on the story and tell you the story from their perspective. So my daughters, I've got two of them. And the first, I have so many memories of her. I remember when she was young, we used to eat those little pizza bagels. Remember those pizza bagels? Little like pepperonis on them, and you toast them and make your own toppings and all that. We had we 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 did swings. Like I'd put her out on the swing all the time and push her. We took long walks holding hands, and she always chew gum. She just loved that when I give her a stick of gum. Princess dresses all the time, everywhere. Super cute, giggly, Love watching cartoons with me. But we just had this incredible history. She was like literally my firstborn daughter. I mean, apple of my eye. Just loved this stinking girl to death. Would die for her. I mean, honestly, she absolutely fantastic little girl. Just love her. And then we had a second daughter. The second one, she loved Hot Pockets. And so I'd make her these Hot Pockets all the time, right out of the freezer. And if you've heard Jim Gaffigan, right? Hot Pockets. Is your Hot Pocket cold in the middle? It's frozen, but it can also be served boiling lava hot, right? So you get that whole. She had Hot Pockets. We'd play duck hunt, right? We'd sit on the floor. The TV was on the floor, and we'd play duck hunt, Nintendo together. She was really into softball, so we go out and practice softball all the time. She loved her little Raggedy Ann and Andy, and so she'd make me play, and I didn't like it, but I'd play anyway, just to humor her and be a good dad. But yeah, I absolutely just enamored with my daughters. Love my daughters. And growing up, we'd spent a lot of time together. I felt like I was pretty present. I mean, there were times where I got a little wrapped up in my work. I had the estate, was running a business, but I was a pretty involved father. And as my daughters were getting older, I could see that the older one was more of an entrepreneur. She was more of like a strategic thinker, a type A, very driven sort of personality. My younger daughter really sought affirmation, approval from other people. She just really had a kind of a wild streak to her, right? And so as I got a little bit older, I could see my older daughter getting um, accepted into a Ivy League school and wanted to run and own her own business. Even thought about taking over our family business here. My younger daughter just started getting connected with a bit of a party crowd and going a little crazy. So one day, my younger daughter comes to me and says to me, "Dad, I would like my inheritance." Now, of course, you only get the inheritance when I'm dead. And so she essentially said, "Dad, I wish you were dead. Like I want the money that I would get when you die." And I was freaking heartbroken. I mean, it just literally like ripped me to shreds. Um, but I didn't want to argue with her or force her to do what was right. So I ended up just dying on the spot. I died on the spot. Many people would have considered it bad parenting, actually. But I gave my daughter what she wanted. I acted like a dead man. I said goodbye. I wept for days. I prayed for her every day. I mean, honestly, I was waiting for the day that I would get a call that she was dead, because she took off and I didn't even know where she went, but I thought she might even end up dead. So then I looked at my older daughter, and after the younger one went off and just who knows where she went, just went nuts. I went to my older daughter, the responsible one, and I asked her to run our family estate. I gave her the business. I gave her control of all the bank accounts, all my properties, everything, right? My older daughter was a little pissy about the younger daughter. Just not too happy about her. She didn't even say goodbye to her sister when she took off. Um, so I'm going to leave you there and I'm going to come back to you later, but I'd like to introduce you first to my younger daughter. So if I could have you join me here, where are you at? Uh, 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 hold on, somebody wants to get in. A little late to the party. There we go. I'm gonna add you. Here we go. I'm gonna ping you so that we're both pinned here. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Here's my wild child, everyone.
All right. Should I take
Share
it
a
away?
little bit of, yeah, share a little bit about your story here.
Okay, so I am the younger of the two daughters, and growing up, my parents were very invested in our lives. But once I got into high school, I decided I had more fun, going out and partying and hanging out with my friends, and that was more valuable to me than really anything. Uh, and so as I got through school, I just decided, like, I woke up every day and I was just like, YOLO. Like, what am I gonna do today? I'm gonna hang out, I'm gonna party, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna do what I want with my friends. And meanwhile, I knew that my family had this business that they were running, and they wanted me to wake up and work and help at the business. But like, how was I supposed to wake up and get out of bed at like 9 a.m. when I had just gone to bed at 4 because I was out with my friends all night? So I finally got to the point where I was like, I don't need this in my life. I'm just gonna, I wish my dad were dead so I could have his money. And then I decided I'm just going to go ask him for his money, because why should I follow his rules and work when I already knew that I had this inheritance coming to me and I didn't need to do that anymore. So I went to my dad and told him, like, I just want, you're only good for your money. I don't want you. I don't want your relationship. I don't want anything you have to offer me. I just want my inheritance so I can go do what I want to do. I'm done with you. I'm done with these rules. I'm done with hearing about this business that you're running. Just give me my money. So I was shocked when he said, okay. And he gave me his money and I got my inheritance. And then I decided I am going to go to the biggest party place I could think of, and that was Vegas. So I went out to Vegas and I started to have fun. So I took each day as I woke up. I decided which hotel I was going to stay in that night. I stayed in some penthouse rooms from time to time. I hung out with tons of people, some of them rich, some of them famous. And I just partied. I lived literally like I was an Ariana Grande song. Like, I see it, I want it, I got it. Or I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. I was those song lyrics. That was me. That was my life every day. Some days I was drunk all day long. Some days I was hanging out with tons of guys, like sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's me. That was my life, and I was living it up. I had so much fun. But before I knew it, I blew all my money at Vegas. And, when you're living high, you're living high. But when you're low, there's nobody else there around to kind of help boost you back up. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was trying to call my friends. But when I wasn't the one footing the bill at the bars for everybody to take shots and stay up all night drinking, suddenly they weren't my friends anymore. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had to find a job. So I started working, and I was waitressing at this restaurant, but I wasn't making much money. I was working all day long from sun up to sundown. And there were some days I wasn't even able to eat because I didn't have enough money to spend, even to buy food. So I was living pretty low. I found myself homeless on the streets. I even considered possibly looking into prostitution and starting that. And so when I hit my lowest point, I realized that the people who worked for my dad, his employees, they got paid a decent amount of money. They were able to put food on their table, and they were not at the point that I was, where they were starving and homeless. So it dawned on me that maybe I could find a way to make it back home to my dad and ask him, can I just come and be one of your employees? I'm not your daughter anymore. You don't have to own me. And if I could just humble myself from the point where I was partying and living it up and doing all kinds of these wild things, and find a way to humble myself and ask my dad to just hire me so I could work for him, then maybe he might hire me as one of his employees and let me come and work with him. So that was where I found myself.
Yeah, and I'll never forget when you showed up. You had these freaking neck tats going on. You shaved your head. I mean, you just looked nuts. You look really rough. It was crazy.
That was a dare from, my friends when we were partying to see how much hair I could shave off. Every time I shaved another piece, we took a shot. It was awesome.
Oh, but I was so happy. I couldn't believe that you can I thought you were going to be dead. You came back. I was just overjoyed. Absolutely overjoyed. Like she's back. I love her. But you know what? I'm going to welcome my older daughter to join the conversation here, share a little bit about your perspective, watching your sister take off and running a business. Where you at, older daughter? Unmute yourself. Are you there?
You have to look for me as Shannon Morris.
Okay. I'll look for you. Then I can highlight your video. Uh-oh. Talk again.
Hello, hello.
There you are. Okay. All right. Welcome.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I am the older daughter. So my parents and I had a great relationship. My dad invested a lot of time in me. He taught me the family business. He taught me the importance of the family business and the importance of working hard to get what you want in life. And when I was in school, I followed the rules and I did what I was supposed to do. I fast tracked through high school, went on to an Ivy League school. I didn't really bother too much with social events or anything that wouldn't lead me directly to the path that I wanted to go. I was concerned with climbing the ladder and not with anything else. So I went to an Ivy League school. I got a great education, and then I came home and took over the family business. My sister, on the other hand, decided that she wished our dad was dead. She wanted his money, and she was going to waste it on frivolous things like drugs, parties, and alcohol, and everything that comes with all of that. I didn't. I stayed home. I did the right thing. I ran the family business to the best of my abilities. I climbed the corporate ladder. I missed my kids' softball games. I missed my kids' soccer games. I missed family events. I spent all of my time making this business grow and to show my parents how well I could do this. I wanted them to see my achievement. I wanted them to understand how good I was. I wanted them to know that I had done the right things, and by doing the right things, it had led me to a life of success. And I was willing to sacrifice all relationships to get what I wanted. I had tunnel vision when it came to work and success in my life. I just wanted to make sure that the family business was completely taken care of. I wanted to make sure that my parents were happy with that. I wanted to make sure that in all outside appearances, I had it all together. I had the career, I had a great family. All of these things from the outside appeared to be exactly as they should. And that's what I wanted everybody to see. And that's what I wanted to project to the world. And my sister didn't care about any of those things. She wanted to just go do whatever she wanted to do and still have all the money coming to her without doing any of the work to get any of the money and without doing any of the work to build the fortune for later on in life. So when my sister came back and she had done all of these terrible things to our family, she had put our family through hell. She comes back and my dad welcomes her in. Like, I have not been here slaving away, sacrificing all relationships, sacrificing a social life, sacrificing all of these things. She comes in and he throws her the biggest party that you have ever seen. We had the best food. the best drinks. For what? For her to just say she messed it all up while I stayed here building this empire for him. And he has never once thrown me a party for all of my many achievements that I have built for him. I have done so much to make his business and make our estate what it is today, and I have never received a party. And I cannot be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of her life. She has messed it all up. I have done what is right. I have followed the rules, and I can just, it's unfathomable to me to believe how our dad could just welcome her back after her being so horrible to him and just doing all of the terrible things she has done, when I have stayed here and worked so hard to create this life that she's actually coming back to.
Yeah, I remember you being so angry that I took the brisket that you were saving for this business luncheon to talk about the expansion of the business and use that to throw this crazy, massive party, get the cover band, cater the event. You were standing outside. You wouldn't come in. I mean, you were just like ticked off. I'll never forget it. What were you?
Exactly.
Yeah, what were you thinking, Danielle?
At first I was just in complete awe that you welcomed me back in the way that you did. I was embarrassed. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, because I was, I told you to your face, I wish you were dead. The only thing you're good for is your money. And then when you welcomed me back, and didn't just welcome me back, but you threw me like the best party that I've ever had in my whole life, I was speechless. I truly couldn't believe that this was happening to me after everything that I had done and that I had gone through. I didn't know what to think.
I just kept looking back at both of you thinking, I ate so many mud pies. Back in the day, I played with so many dolls and I just love my daughters. And yet I felt like in all of this, I lost both of my daughters. I lost one to, a pursuit of pleasure, and I lost another to a pursuit of success. And neither of them really even wanted anything to do with me anymore. I just wanted to be able to sit on a porch swing and hang out with my daughter again. But I felt like I lost both of them. And it was really it was deeply painful. So when my daughter came back and she sort of came back with a script. Danielle, when you came back and you basically wanted to kind of win me over to this idea of you working for me again somehow,
I remember I
which
practiced
by
it.
the way,
Yeah, I practiced my script over and over on the way home because I was so nervous that you were just going to shut the door in my face. And so I remember trying to just practice those words and get them together as quick as I could and try to get them out as fast as I could before I was going to get a door slammed in my face, especially not only for the way I acted, but for the way that I looked. I don't even think I looked like the daughter that you knew when I left. So I was trying really hard to just get that out to you, but I didn't even have a chance to get it out to you because you welcomed me in so quickly.
it's not like you were fully reformed either. When you showed up, I could still smell the liquor in your breath. I mean, it was pretty heavy. Like you look like a train wreck. It was crazy.
I had to get home somehow. So there was a lot that I didn't want to tell my dad about my way home from Vegas to Pennsylvania. That's across the country. So
Yeah, and when you got there, I was just so thrilled. I was just so thrilled that you were back. And and I could see that when I hugged you and I went and grabbed your jacket that you left here. one of your favorite jackets, went and grabbed that sucker and brought it back out and put it on you because you're like pretty dirtied up. I don't know how long you have been wearing that outfit, but when I put that sucker on you and you just started crying and we hugged, and then I started making arrangements, and I got the Facebook event out, and I told a whole bunch of people, like, you gotta come. Like, I remember putting the brisket in the smoker and booking the cover band and telling everyone to come over. We got that whole thing like just rolling. And boy, Crystal was ticked off, man. She was just like outside, angry, refused to come in. I'm like, come on in. And she just wouldn't do it. She was like, her face was on fire. You could feel it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I avoided my sister on purpose because I knew how angry she was, and what was I going to say to her? You know, the thought of having to face her just made me want to pour more drinks and drink more because our relationship was done years ago. And so, what was I supposed to say to the perfect child when I was the imperfect child who was coming home to this party? She was really angry.
Well, and the irony is, like, Crystal, you had everything. Like, whenever your sister took off, I gave you everything. Like, I literally, like, I died to all of it. I gave her her share of the inheritance, but I gave you your share. I mean, Danielle, you had a third of the inheritance. Crystal, you had two-thirds of it, and you had the bank account. You had everything. I gave you everything. In fact, the brisket was yours. I gave you the whole thing. And and so when Danielle came back and and I welcomed her back in, I felt like like I got one daughter back, but I still didn't have my older daughter. Like I had lost her completely, and I could see you just digging your heels in. So maybe you could sort of close off, Crystal, and share your final thoughts on everything and what you were feeling as this party was going on, and I was begging you to come in. Like what was going through your head?
Um, that what was going through my head was I had worked, you had given me two-thirds of that inheritance, and I had worked my tail off and sacrificed everything in my life to build it to be the empire that it is today. And all of that work that I put in, all of the things that I had done to build this empire, you were now giving to her because she walked back in and said, I'm sorry. Sorry, I've been crap and sex, drugs, and rock and roll has ruled my life. And now I want to come back. If I were you, I would have totally made her work her way to the top. Like I have worked my way to the top. I have worked and put in all of that time. I didn't just walk up and be like, oh, sorry, I'm, messed up my life for the last couple of years. I feel like she should have had to work like I had to work to get what I had. And it
You
was infuriating.
you kept telling me that I was an enabler and that I needed to at least like give her a speech. I remember you saying that.
Right. I feel like you should have let her know how much her behavior has destroyed this family. And I just feel like she should know how bad that she has been. I feel like that she should know that I've been here working, I've been here building this empire so that she can have this party. I just feel like you did not even acknowledge that she has totally wasted her life for the last how many years. There was like no acknowledgement of that. There was no acknowledgement of my success. There was no acknowledgement of her being unsuccessful. It was just totally, it felt like a slap in the face for us to just throw her a party while she had done nothing. And I have done everything and received no party.
Well, I think everyone on this call should give Crystal and Danielle a big thank you for playing along this morning, and then I'm going to give some closing commentary on it, and then I'll allow any of you who have some thoughts or questions to put that in the chat and interact with us. I'll give them a thank you here. All right, so I think the crazy thing about the story is you see Jesus talking about the Pharisees and the religious people saying, "You honor me with your lips, but your hearts are far from me." So you have the older or the younger daughter who runs off and goes nuts and pursues pleasure, but the older one is trying to earn the respect and the favor of the father, like with achievement, success, performance, like trying to earn the love of the father, but never loving the father. You get that? Trying to earn the love of the father, but never loving the father. You honor me with your lips, but your hearts are far from me. That describes a religious person. You do all these things for God, and yet you don't love God. This is the Pharisee, is that they tithed and they attended services and they did all the right things and they had all the right actions, but their heart was far from the Father. Their heart was far from God. And so you have the tragedy in the story is that the older brother is out there serving God, in ministry, doing all the right things, so to speak. The older sister is doing all the right things, running the estate, and yet can't even sit down, can't even put down her freaking cell phone or computer and just sit and be present with the father that she loves, but is so addicted to achievement and performance and success that he lost relationship entirely and has totally lost love and love for her younger sister as well. The other interesting thing in all of this is that Jesus repeatedly, because the context of the story is Jesus sitting with the tax collectors and the sinners and the religious people being angry about it, is that Jesus repeatedly says, I identify with you if your life is gone, if you quit trying to hold on to your life. The one who wants to save his life will lose it, but the one who loses his life for my sake will find it. It's the person who comes back dead and realizes that they're no longer a daughter, no longer a son. And then Jesus sort of resurrects this person to new life, puts a robe on him, kills the fattened calf, which, by the way, that's the Jesus figure in the story, is the cow. Because the cow just sort of stayed in the stall and waited to die so that everybody could have a wild party. And that was the Jesus figure in the story, is that Jesus was born to die so that we might feast at the wedding supper forever, and that God might lay out a massive spread on our behalf and put on the royal robes and clothe us with perfection and dignity and love once again. It's a pretty wild story. And if you think about how it ends, the story ends with Crystal's figure, right? With the older sister, the older brother in the story, who's angry, ticked off outside of the party, and there's no conclusion to the story. And actually, poetically, it's an awkward ending. I mean, the story should continue to go on. You should have some sort of conclusion. There's supposed to be some more lines to the story. And so Jesus is essentially saying this. Listen to me here. This is huge. Jesus is essentially saying to the Crystal figure in the story, to the older sister, to the religious leaders of the day who were angry that Jesus was hanging out with the sinner and the tax collector and the broken people of the world. Jesus was essentially saying to the religious person, the end of the story is up to you. Are you going to come into the party or not? Are you going to accept the free gift or not? Are you going to enjoy the brisket or not? because I've got this awesome, the band's amazing, and you got to come in here. It's going to be great. And essentially, the story ends like this. And then Crystal, ticked off at her father, poisons his drink, and he dies. Because the religious people then sold Jesus out so that he was crucified on the cross. It's a crazy ending, a crazy kind of ending, but he put the ball in their court. All that I've had is yours. I'm here for you. I've come to save and restore and redeem you. I've always been for you, both of my daughters. I always loved you, and I want you. And I've come not to condemn, but to save. Like, I'm for you. Really, really remarkable story. I hope you guys enjoyed the twist that we put on it, and basically giving you a couple caricatures here and changing the characters a little bit, putting a little bit of a modern day twist on it. But I think it gives you a little bit of a peek at the love of God. No lecture. Danielle comes back, head shaved, neck tattoos, orgies, and everything else, right? She comes back, and there isn't so much as a lecture. Just a jacket and brisket and a cover band. And this is what God in his radical and sort of bizarre love does, is he, while we are yet sinners, in our brokenness and shame and imperfection, he comes and lavishes us with this grace that just sinks deeper than the ocean. It's just insane. It's hilarious. That's what it is. But I'm going to end there and pray. And as I pray, I would love for you to think of any questions that you'd like to put in the chat. We can interact with you. If you'd like to interact with Danielle and Crystal, ask them questions based on their thinking and processing that they did about the story, they can interact with you too. Hey, God, we just thank you so much for your incredible grace, that you are for us. You're for both the sisters in the story, and you're for each of us. Some of us can relate to pursuing success. We want to earn your favor. We want to make you proud of us. We want to do things so that we can sort of feel like we're acceptable. All the while, we can go days, months, years without ever even talking to you. We can serve you, but not love you. We can do things for you, but not be with you. We could do the right things, but be far from your heart. It'd be better if we were Davids that were messed up and making mistakes and failing, but we have this heart, that we're men or women after your heart. So God, just break our hearts and draw us back. It's not good or bad behavior that separates us from you. You've come and you've made sinners holy and clean and righteous by your performance, not theirs. The only thing that separates us is our pride, either in pursuing pleasure or success, but not sitting in relationship with the one who has spread out an incredible feast, free for nothing. We didn't have to do anything, covered everything, all expenses paid. So we thank you for your goodness, your kindness, your love, your favor, your acceptance. And help us all just to come as corpses that need resurrecting, as people who have been declared alive while we see ourselves as dead in our trespasses and sins. And help us to come back not feeling like we need a script, but to come back as dead sons and daughters that are brought to life. As you were resurrected, we are too. And we love you. We thank you for your goodness. Help us to walk out with this renewed way of looking at people in the world and the people around us as other people who have received grace. not looking down at them. Help us not to be like the older sister. Sorry, Crystal. Help us not to be like Crystal. She's not really like that. She's actually a great person. Is actually a sinner that accepts grace. But God, we just love you so much. Amen. And as you're thinking of and sharing some questions,